Yep, it is a Friday night. 10:30 बज रहे हैं फिलहाल and we are back to reviewing T20Is instead of the watch along. सोचा कि थोड़ा tweak करके हम भी देखते हैं कि कैसा होता है, क्या होता है. First T20I done and dusted of the South African tour. Their first win over here in Indian shores this time around. Finally for them, not a bad way to follow up what was a very good performance in the test as well. Chennai seems to be proving good for the Proteas. We've got Nikhil bhai joining us for the first time during the series at least, and then Jeet, of course. Hello, gents. Boss, क्या देखा हमने यार? High scoring encounter is not something we usually associate with Chepauk, but happy with the kind of game we saw today, Jeet.
Why South Africa is back. And that's why I mentioned if there is any format where they can, push India or even perhaps squeeze out a win, it's going to be the T20A format. But by kya pitch hai Chepauk wala, that Chepauk that we are not accustomed to. It was a flat pitch, difficult conditions because when the national anthems were going on, all the players were sweating profusely. So it was very hot out there, very humid. But of course, I mean, it was a good pitch for the T20 format from a batter's perspective. And South Africa made optimal use of that. Okay, at least they've got a win, so I'm happy about that. That at least they'll have something, to take back home and some kind of win or some kind of confidence, draw out of this entire tour. So I'm happy for them.
Definitely, I mean, if there was one format like Jeet mentioned that South Africa, मतलब एक कांटे की टक्कर दे सकती थी, it was going to be this. They were also aided by the fact that Marizan Kaap was, sort of back to full tilt. Then there was Nadine de Klerk coming in. There was also Chloe Tryon making her way into the side. Ayabonga Kaka, who wasn't a part of the test side, coming over here now. Sort of a full strength 11 Nikhil bhai, and they showed कि boss, they've got the goods to deliver. ऐसा इतना बड़ा load लेने का नहीं है भाई T20s के मामले में तो कम से कम.
Yeah, and I think what works really well in their favor is they won without Cobb having to bowl. It is not a regular thing to not have one of your best bowl and for her to not contribute and them to still win this one with enough. I mean, Jemmy, hats off to her. I'm sure we'll talk about her. But for major part of this chase, after that Smriti Mandana wicket, you felt that this was always going to be a bridge too far, and for them to still close the game out very well, well done to them. And again, I think it was Tryon who really ticked the biggest box for them because I feel she's someone who adds a lot of value with the bat first in terms of her hits down the order, and then India have always found it a bit tricky. I wouldn't say tough, but a bit tricky to take care of left arm spin. And the one wicket that she got, Smriti Mandana caught behind. And that was possibly the game changer in terms of India needed her to bat deep. And once that did not come through, you felt it will take something special. Jemmy almost did it, but I think South Africa will be chuffed with this because with the World Cup coming around, you expect Dex to have more help. So for them to win on one with lesser of that, they should be delighted with this one.
Completely agree there. Jemmy almost seemed like she could win the game for India, especially the way the 19th over went for 18 runs. Lagaki was probably there's still another twist left in the tail, but unfortunately not to be the case. The humidity did get the better of the Indian skipper. She wasn't in full flow. Of course, उससे पहले काफी कुछ हुआ था, काफी सारी चीजें हुई थी, lots to discuss. So let's start with the match summary first for the uninitiated. Of course, India won the toss, opted to chase first, something that's always been a trend when it comes to this format in the Indian subcontinent. South Africa were happy to bat first. Laura Wolfart got off to a fantastic start, allowing Tazmin Brits to sort of play herself in, which has sort of become a trend now. It's sort of been the pattern for her. Laura started off with a 22 ball 33, and then Marizan Kaap and Tazmin Brits got together. Solid partnership for them, a 96 run partnership of 51 balls. Helped South Africa to breach the 150 run mark in the 16th over. And from there, Chloe Tryon came in, also chipped in with a decentish cameo, for someone who's, of course, making a comeback. You can't sort of, expect too much from her. Tazmin Brits, of course, was their best batter there. India's bowlers, so bhai, matlab, they never really turned up. And on the odd occasion they did, their fielders were like, boss, हम अपन आज यहाँ पे नहीं है, टेस्ट मैच खेले, अपने को थोड़ा रेस्ट मांगता है, सैटरडे संडे थोड़ा चिल मांगता है. Jeet, again, bowling, fielding, we've spoken about this again, and we know, again, we sound like a broken record, but यार क्या चल रहा है वहां पे यार?
ये एक problem है because we can check all the boxes on any given day in any format, but the one box that generally remains unchecked is that fielding. I can perhaps give a bit of benefit of doubt to Smriti Mandana. The drop catch at first was slightly a little more difficult because she had to run it from a long way and had to dive in front of her to get that. So that was still a bit of a difficult grab as compared to the other two that Richa Ghosh had or Sri Lanka Patil had. So the same issues, continue. So there is nothing that has really changed as far as our catching is concerned or fielding is concerned. But in terms of bowling, I was just checking. I mean, South Africa had two spinners on show tonight. One was, of course, Chloe Tryon, and the other was Nonkululeko Komalaba. Both conceding 32 runs in their 4 overs and both picking up a wicket. The best spinner for India in terms of economy was Asha Shobna, 39 runs of 4 overs. So there was, of course, Dipti Sharma was costlier than Asha Shobna. Radha Yadav was costlier than Asha Shobna. So you would expect the Indian spinners to put on a better show. But no, it was a South African duo who did that. So that is also where, there was a bit more imbalance and a huge difference in how the two teams stacked up as far as the spinners were concerned. But the Pacers. So the one thing that I observed in the power play in particular with the Indian Pacers was that, they were going for wobble seam. Renuka Singh and Pooja Usrakar both resorted to wobble seam right from the get-go. Now I can understand somebody like Pooja Usrakar bowling wobble seam at a pace which is, of course, more than 105. She's probably going to be a lot more deceptive because it's basically a quicker seam delivery. For Renuka Singh, to be bowling those wobble seam deliveries at, say, 97 Ks, 100 Ks, it was not really going to work out. And then, of course, credit to Laura Woodward, she was very switched on. She knew, of course, Renuka is that negative matchup that she has got. So she was very proactive with how she was moving in the crease against Renuka, and she capitalized big time. So I thought plans were going very, very wayward. I actually like what Pooja Astrakar was doing. So if you want to go for wobble seam, fine. Pooja Astrakar is your bowler or is your pacer to do that, but not Renuka Singh. Her strengths are very different, so she needs to stick to her strengths. I know movement in the Anita, but you look at what Abha Khauka did, right? She was bowling with beautiful seam presentation. That's how she dismissed Shefali Verma. Although itna kuch movement nahi, but that was a beautiful delivery. The same thing that even maybe Renuka Singh could have stuck to. So I think India lacked as far as the planning was concerned. Forget the execution. The execution to dur ki baat hai. The planning between the two teams was very, very different. And I felt South Africa, whether it was the pacers or the spinners, they had much better plans than the Indian bowlers. Second was, of course, the field setting as well. India had some very, very wacky and weird field settings as compared to South Africa. So one thing I observed was I could see the boundary outline. So I believe for this particular T20, maybe the boundaries were pushed back from the test match because we had a clear marking. So it basically meant the dimensions were a lot more larger at most parts of the ground. So it was a different challenge for the Indian bowlers, not only because of the bigger dimensions and the field settings because of that, but also the fact that they were put under pressure by the South African batters, something that they haven't been put under so often in this particular tour, barring that one ODI game. So that was another challenge that the Indian bowlers had, and they succumbed. So that field setting also didn't really gel well because Marizan Cap was lapping and playing all those shots behind the wicket, and she was getting boundaries one after the other. So Indians were basically found wanting in all three departments. So maybe an off day, maybe we can hope it gets better, but it was not a good showing from India, that's for sure.
Fair enough,
Yeah,
Nikhil bhai.
just to ask one question to Jeet, something that we've asked to Akshay enough during the WPL. How crucial or big do you think it is Renuka's new ball wicket taking? Because very often we've discussed this in the past that when she strikes early, it's a completely different ball game. But when that does not happen, you need to find a way to. I'm not saying to bowl 4 overs, but to be able to create an impact as per the need of the situation. So, do you think that is something that will really cost India if they don't always take new ball wickets? With all due respect to Pooja, Renuka is the person that you will want to be the leader of the attack in terms of pace bowling. So, you naturally want her to take more wickets, right?
Yeah, that's a very bad question actually, because Renuka Singh is somebody who's very conditions oriented pacer. If she has got swing movement early on with new ball, then she can capitalize big time and be very, very handy in actually winning the games or putting India a lot more ahead in the power play. But when that swing is not there, how do you counter that? And that is where she is, let's be fair, she has failed most of the times to actually come up with a response or to come up with an adjustment that makes her successful. Maybe that is the reason why we saw wobble seam today, which could be a new variation that she has had, because I've never seen a ball wobble seam so frequently in the power play. Death mein theek hai. But one more thing that I've seen with these in-swing bowlers who rely on swing a lot in the power play, do the damage. Maybe Chesker, Megan Shoot. Renuka Singh is in that similar category. Predominantly in-swing bowlers. Their only go-to variation are the leg cutters. So that is something they start resorting to when the movement is not there. So even that was kind of lacking from Renuka Singh. So I think India need to think that what happens in the subcontinent, like the pitch that we had tonight, where there is no movement on offer, is Renuka Singh your answer? If you know it's not going to move, is there any point in picking her? That is something India needs to consider. And from Renuka's perspective, either she has to work on her pace, get a little bit quicker than what you are, or add more variations up your sleeve. You cannot be relying only on those in-swing deliveries for wickets. So in-swing niye, you get exposed. So you need to have more variations. Because आज I think एक ही leg cutter उसने डाला when she was under pressure by Laura Woolward. Laura Woolward was moving around the crease a lot when the balls were coming back in. And she was, of course, targeting the leg side. There was only one leg cutter which Laura Woolward was able to pick up. She stayed still. Of course, the leg cutter that gripped away from her. So she had room and she capitalized on that as well. So if you're bowling these at 95 Ks or 100 Ks, उसका कोई point नहीं भाई, spinner भी वो कर रहे हैं हम लोग के. So either work on your pace or add more variations up your sleeve, or India need to have more options. Otherwise, there is no point. I thought Shabnam could have been a very good pick for tonight's game, because she has got a lot more pace than Renuka Singh, and maybe she could have been a lot more nippy as well over here. But Renuka Singh is a very conditions-oriented bowler, and something needs to be done about that.
Yeah, and to be honest, there's a conversation we've had even during the WPL. We've had this earlier. Ki bhai, she is a bit too one-dimensional for an international cricketer, especially for someone who knows ki boss, what it takes to be at this level. And Nikhil bhai, in fact, my question to you was going to be the same or in this similar sort of area. Ki Renuka Singh Thakur, given how she's performed, do you now actually see her starting for India come the World Cup? Because at the beginning of this year, when the India-Australia T20Is were happening, we all and I knew ki broadly, boss, bowling aisa hoga, Renuka Singh Thakur will probably be the only pacer, along with, of course, Pooja Vasrakar. Apart from that, we'll go with 3 spin options, and then maybe Harman or someone can roll their arm over. That's primarily how they look at it. But Renuka has just lacked that tooth, that sort of oomph that's necessary. WPL ho gaya, abhi India South Africa chal raha hai. There's not a lot of time remaining in terms of matches, in terms of her being able to sort of show ki boss, I am in some form, I can be good enough for my team come the World Cup.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting call. I think Asia Cup will probably be the final decider. I think that's where we will see, because if she's not there in that 11, then I think that conversation might have been might have happened, that okay, maybe Pooja can do the job for us in terms of she, and Pooja to great skills. She's been very good under pressure. The last 2 overs that India bowled were far better as compared to the many that India bowled before that. So I think Pooja in that sense can be your option, that okay, new ball value. But again, as Jeet said, you have to see conditions. What are you going to expect in the World Cup? Are you going to expect a lot of swing? If there are such certain venues where you feel, yeah, people will get some swing, then you play her in that game. Otherwise, given and you expect spin to do a lot of damage, and also we haven't talked much about Sri Lanka not playing this game, but that was a surprise to me, that how did you not try and pick up, because she's someone who can also bowl with the new ball. There is nothing stopping you from doing that. So I feel if they have enough options like that, all of them taking, then maybe Renuka could be someone who's just a simply, as it said, swing her, you play her, bowl her for right away. Because I also think the move that India tried today, bringing her back in the middle, I felt you could have used Asha maybe there in that role, because you need wickets there. And then with their older ball, you're not quite sure what you're going to get with Renuka, but trying to just get an over out. So I think Asia Cup, however Renuka shapes up, I think is going to be very crucial for her. If she finds a way to take 2-3 wickets, because it's the lure. See, eventually we know what happened in the Commonwealth Games as well. It's the lure that she'll come in, take 2-3 early, and then that sets the tone. But how often are you going to get that in those conditions is what I think they'll have to really take a call on soon.
I think even Arundhati could have been a good option actually, because if you want somebody to bowl tight lines, bowl your Yorkers, here's your pacer to actually get the job done. But I feel India might actually persist with Renuka even the T20 World Cup, because in Bangladesh we have seen plenty of venues where the ball does do a lot in the power play, and she has got a terrific record with 10 wickets at an average of 17 or something. So she could perhaps continue as that pacer. But it's just that when you are an in-swing bowler and that is your go-to particular delivery, the batters figure out, they know what you're going to bowl, right? That's the only variation, or that's the only stock delivery that you've got. So batters always found a way to counter it. Megan Shoot herself has mentioned that, I'm maybe so irrelevant now in this format. And that's actually true, because you are an in-swing bowler and batters pick away. I've seen Tammy Beaumont, actually struggle against in-swing deliveries. she's actually found a way how to counter Jess Curran. She's done that beautifully in the ongoing series. So that's how batters learn how to line up these kind of in-swing pacers and be really really effective against them and nullify them altogether in the power play. क्योंकि अगर power play में अगर movement मिला and you are effective, you're going to be effective. At the death, maybe there is no value. Some like Megan Shoot executing her variations at the death versus Renuka executing her variations at the death are two very different things by experience of board differences. So I think India will persist, but they'll have to probably stick to front loading Renuka. Team starting में निकाल लो movement है या नहीं है. That's it, done. That's her role. That's it. No middle overs, nothing at the death. 3 overs in the power play, maybe in the first 7-8 overs. That's it. That's her role.
Yeah, and to be honest, even batters who are susceptible to the in swing, for example, Laura Wolfart, she is susceptible to that incoming delivery, the in swinging delivery. But if that's the only weapon in your armory, it becomes that much more easier for her, knowing कि boss plan B तो नहीं है. As far as I'm concerned, I just need to negotiate that. उसके बाद वो जो भी करेगी, I know I can handle it. And that's why if anything, you're letting the batter sort of read your cards way too early, and it becomes that much more difficult for you to set them up. Anyways, it'll be interesting to see because as an RCB fan, I know how much we've burnt our hands. 2 साल देख चुके हम लोग. Let's hope for her sake, for India's sake, that she does come good for them. In the forthcoming T20, as of course. First innings में तो ये हुआ था. Second innings, of course, India started off, got off to a very good start, to be honest. Priti Mandana, Shefali also first ball chokka mara tha. It seemed like, okay, boss, you know what? Probably we are going to see this new India and all of that. Shefali was taken care of fairly early there, and uske baad se to bhai, Laila and Himlata never got going. And just when it seemed like, okay, Smriti, matlab kar paegi kuch, Chloe Tryon, sorry, of all the bowlers, she somehow managed to get Smriti outstumped. And then Harman, unfortunately, not one of her best days under the sun. Nothing went going for her. And again, in terms of the batting, guys, we know talent ki koi kami nahi hai. Shefali ki baat nahi karenge. We'll save it for the next 2 T20s. I'm pretty sure she'll give us enough opportunities to talk about her. But kafi baat kiya. But how do you look at Harman? Because Jemmy at number 5 is something we've spoken about time and time again. Ki yaar, she probably is better off at number 3 and stuff like that. But she's made the number 5 position her own. She's been rock solid for Delhi Capitals in the WPL. Now she's been rock solid for India across formats. But agar Harman ढंग से नहीं खेलती ऊपर, then it's not serving any purpose there, right, Jeet?
It's not, and that's a problem. Actually, that's where another big issue or the big challenge India faced was when they lost back-to-back wickets. They were 87 for 2 and 87 for 3. So they had two new batters. One was Harman, the other was Temima. Both of whom are slow starters. So not only did they walk in when the required rate was way above 10, they also started the way they exactly do in the other games, which is slowly. So that required run rate shot up very quickly. The good thing is Temima has the potential to, change gears very quickly, but Harman takes her time. And when the required rate is so high, you can't afford that. And I can understand if the pitch has something in it for the bowlers, but जहाँ कुछ नहीं है, you are expected to do a lot better. So that is where the problem has happened. Even Shamima for Delhi Capitals has played some wonderful cameos at number 5. She just walks in and bludgeons the ball right from the get-go. So today also she changed her gears very quickly, starting against slow था 4-5 balls, but then she was switched on. But Harman का वो जो starting में slow था, वो gear 3 के ऊपर कभी गई नहीं, and that was a big issue. The thing is, when you have like 38 to get off, it was 40 runs of last overs, if I recollect. 38 to 40 runs.
39
Sorry?
of 2 overs.
39 of
the
2 overs. When 39 runs are required of the last 2 overs, there is no point swiping the ball along the ground. You need big hits. Fours mark ke koi point. You need big hits, and you would probably look at Harmanpreet to do that. वो big hits ही नहीं आ रहे थे. She tried a few of them. Of course, she couldn't capitalize on them, and of course, credit to the South African bowlers as well for some of the lines that they bowled. That was fantastic as well. But for Harman, that is going to be an issue. I think that is where these entry points become a lot more crucial for India, because when you have a very high required rate, when you walk in or when wickets are lost, you need somebody to walk in who can, change the game right from the get-go, or have a, say, 7 or 10 ball knock, which is really impactful in bringing that required rate down massively, or even a touch. You can't have two batters walking to take time. Or sadly, I think that is what costed India eventually. So if you look at the strike rate of the first 4 batters for South Africa, the strike rate of the first 4 batters 150, 145, 173, and 150. For India, it was 129, 153, 82, and 121. That is where we saw a huge difference because Jemima was the best batter. But वो strike rate में वही difference दिख गया. Whether it was Harmanpreet with her slow start or Hemlata who just struggled after the first ball that she faced. You can't afford that. Even that number three is a crucial spot for a batter because when you are walking in, dictates how you play. It depends upon when that first wicket is lost. Power play में हो, after a good start हो या जो भी हो, जल्दी हो. That is, it's the situation that dictates how you play at number three. So Emlita was again off to a promising start. First ball, he fourth off the back foot. After that, she just slowed down. It ended with a strike rate of 83. So is that really going to work out? Because the pitch is there. It's not, like I mentioned, it's not a challenging pitch. And even then, you're struggling with a run like this, where you end up with a strike rate of 83, 84. It's not going to cut out. So India need to be proactive with how their batting order works. They can't be fixated with a set batting order. Richa Ghoshni, I understand, right? That's why Sajna was there. You could have promoted her for cameo. Chal jata, who knows? Out to out, kya farak padta hai? But need to be proactive with the batting order. Can't have a fixed batting order in a chase like this.
I mean, of course, being proactive is important, but again, Nikhil bhai, in terms of the names that we mentioned, Jeet spoke about Harman, but another name he mentioned was Hemlata, a player that we all love watching. In fact, we've spoken about how it is almost criminal that she's not done well in the WPL so far, not as well as we would have wanted her to, because make no mistake, she's one of the most cleanest hitters right now in India, and I'd love to watch her come good. This was her best opportunity right now. Yastika Bhatia being injured, which meant कि number 3 उसी का था, पूरा मतलब पूरा freedom दिया गया था, पूरा मतलब वो security दिया गया था कि यार ये पूरा tour आप ही खेलोगे because है नहीं अपने पास option. Despite that, 3 ODIs now, the first T20I, like she's not taken those opportunities with both hands like we would have wanted her to. How do you look at this panning out? Because this was very crucial for her.
Yeah, and again, why I feel this is even more crucial for her and Jemmy is because now I know we're all sold on Jemmy at 5, but I still feel Jemmy's best spot is 3. And given whatever she's done so far, I mean, today was it was like I tweeted this out as well. It was criminal to make it so hard for her, and then for her to still find a way and give you hope tells you so much that there is so much more potential. But you can still understand that okay, why is it that you want somebody else at 3 and give them the freedom so that you don't have to really worry so much about losing that player then? So which is a fair line of thought. But as you said, when you have that freedom, you probably want to see a bit more intent. Now again, it is very subjective whether you feel you saw the intent or not, or whether I feel I saw the intent or not. So I think in the next 2 games, all I'm wanting to see from her is just be free. You're not sent out there to think so much in terms of how you want to construct an innings and all of that, because we want you to just express yourself and be free of not wanting to lose your wicket. So because if that is taken care of, it gives Herman also that much room to give herself some time to come in. Now, as Jeet said, and in such cases, the worst thing that can happen is to lose back-to-back wickets, and that's exactly what happened. So, from Hemlata's POV, she's had good time, but there is still time for her to recover from this, because see, eventually, all of us know not every game is going to be a 180 game. So you are most likely going to end up with a game where probably 155, 160, maybe par. So for that, your efforts, of course, will have to change later. But I am just looking forward to a lot more intent and a lot more risk, because in a chase of 180 odd, if you're only losing 3, somewhere I feel you're also taking a lot less risk. You have people down the order, as you know, Jeet said, you could have sent Sanjana, you could send Deep again, not being biased, send Deepti at 3, ask her to go out and hit if she doesn't retire her out. But the point here is to try and make most of your resources. So in an ideal world, yes, freedom given, works out, Herman bats at 4, Jamie finishes up. But on paper, on the field, it may not always execute well. So I think the time is potentially running out, in my opinion, for her. But let's see, it's still some time away, the World Cup.
Yeah, let's see what happens, because Asia Cup का भी, if I'm not wrong, पूरा squad India का तो नहीं आया. India के अलावा सारी teams ने announce कर लिया. So we have to see how what that squad looks like, and then we'll get an idea of what India is also sort of looking at in terms of the World Cup and the players and whatnot. सारे players की बात कर ली, but of course Jeet's favorite player is yet to be discussed, who also happens to be the top performer of the day. Who but Tazmin Brits, a fantastic knock of 81 runs, 81 56 for her, 3 sixes, 10 fours, strike rate of 144. Numbers देखे तो भाई मजा आ गया. Knock देखे उतना शायद मजा ना आए, but फिर भी यार a solid knock, a very crucial knock, because given how Laura got out and given how inexperienced that middle order is, it's that soft underbelly, something that's time and again proven to be their downfall in the Tests and the ODIs. It was so good to see Tazmin Brits come good. And Jeet, let's sort of open the stage up to you first. Kya laga bhai Nokka?
Nauka, I don't know how she got 81 runs, to be fair enough, because she was, like we have talked about before as well, that she is very, very agricultural. So technique and the way she bats is not the most pleasing to her eye. And that's exactly how she started for the first 25 to 30 balls. So she was very scratchy. And I was looking at the control percentage of all the batters. Believe it or not, she had the lowest percentage of just 57. But the point is, she got the job done, and that is what is important. Yes, of course, she had luck as well that was going in her favor, but by at the end of the day, that 81 was match winning, and nobody can deny that. India, of course, early as well, in particular Radha Yadav, you can't, loop the ball, loop the delivery to her and bowl it so slowly because she's got strong shoulders. So she is waiting to muscle the ball. She's waiting to use her shoulders, that brute strength, to actually smash the ball over, say, mid wicket or over long on. That's exactly what she did. So you can't be looping up the delivery to her. But anyway, the point is, as the innings progressed, she kept getting better, which was really, really important. And I mean, come on, you are opening the innings and you're getting out on the very last ball of the innings. That goes on to show what a spectacular knock it was in these kind of humid conditions as well. So yeah, 81, she got the job done. So I don't think you've got a cause to complain. Kitna bhi scratchy ho, no matter how agricultural she looked or how much luck she had going in her way, she got the job done. That is what really matters.
Completely agree there. And Nikhil bhai, it was also even more important for her to come good because ODIs और टेस्ट में कम से कम सुने लीज थे वहां पे. They had a couple more names so to say, but यहाँ पे apart from the experienced trio of Marizan Kaab, Nadine de Klerk and Laura Wolfart, the three of whom only had been doing well, who had been doing most of the heavy lifting, it was important for Brits to come good and for her to come good this way, like winning the match off the bat, I mean off her bat, is something that will really hold her in good stead.
Yeah, and 100%. And at times, these grinds just get you in a better spot as well as a player, right? Sometimes you're not quite hitting it well, you're one of 10 or something like that, and you just can't buy a run at that point of time, and you feel, dude, let's just hack and get out from here. But some days you just stay put, you get it out there, you get the job done. This might possibly, and again, if she ends up scoring runs in the next two T20Is, we know where all that confidence has come from. So eventually, runs are your best currency, and sometimes it doesn't matter whether you get them by a scrap or on get them on a canter. Eventually, as you said, for South Africa also, they need more people to consistently step up to be able to not only over relying on a few individuals. So from that perspective as well, very good for her to get those runs. And I mean, nothing like getting playing batting an entire innings. I'm just happy that I took her in my team today. तो वो एक proper punt worked out well. जीत भाई से पूछता था, I know what I would have got there, but कोई लोड नहीं.
But again, Jeet, just to wrap the episode, I mean the review up, there are a couple of things with Tasman Brits. Like I did pull up a couple of numbers just to understand because it did seem like a pattern to me. मैं ज़्यादा देखा नहीं, of course. Before this tour, barring this and the Australia tour, I haven't seen much of Tasman Brits. But she, in terms of how she constructs her innings, has a strike rate of 19 her first 10 balls, has a strike rate of 19 her from balls 11 to 20. And then, only post 20 is when she starts accelerating. And even there, the strike rate only goes up to 130 post ball 20. It's these first 20 balls where she, and this is over a period of 50 T20Is. ऐसा नहीं कि यार वे कल खेलने आई है ऐसा कुछ. She's 32, 33. She's been playing for South Africa for a while now. And in terms of strike rates, she has a strike rate of 89 in the power play. In all T20Is, these are the numbers. And for an opener who's faced a minimum of 500 balls, she's the third slowest batter in the power play. For someone of her physique, again, the numbers don't really add up that way, but it isn't going to be easy, right? Because Laura also starts slow. We know how Marizan also, given a choice, would like to take her time. So somewhere she has to sort of, at least, increase her intent.
I think you mentioned a strike rate of 90 the first 10 and the next 10. So I think that's 18 runs of 20 of the first 20 balls on an average. So that's the problem actually. As you don't need your opener in the T20 format to be so slow in the first 20 balls or the power play as a whole, especially when your partner also is a slow starter. So that is where she needs to, work something out because even her career T20 strike rate is 105. So average is near 30, but what's the point if it is coming at a strike rate of 105? So that's where the problem with South Africa is that the options are very limited for them. If not Tazmin Brits, then who's the other opening option that they could go to who could perform better, who could bat quicker than Tazmin Brits? There is none. Domestics were एक दो है, but they are very untested, so there is no point. So Tasman Brits at the end of the day is their best bet. It's about how Brits figures out a way to be a lot more quicker in the power play and be a lot more effective. Because one thing that is there for sure is that in this particular South African lineup, there are three batters who have got immense potential of clearing the ropes. One is, of course, Chloe Chan, the other is Nadine de Klerk, and third one is Tasman Brits. And I'm just purely talking about brute power here. So Brits has got that. ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं है, but if you are providing such slow starts every now and then, it's more often than not going to lead to losses than wins. So if South Africa can find a way of maybe opening with somebody else who can be really effective as an opener or be a little more quicker and shaft Tasman Brits down the order, maybe 4 or 5 to take on the spinners like she did tonight, then maybe that's the solution. Or the best solution, of course, it's up to Brits herself. Figure out a way to be a lot more quicker in the power play. Okay, don't bat with strike rate of 150, 160, but at least show some kind of improvement and just improve gradually. 90 say take it to 110, 120. Have some kind of a start. 18 of 20 is not going to win you games. Maybe just get to 25 20. I know that number looks very small, but it could be of a huge, huge impact as far as her knock is concerned, or the impact it could have on the South Africans batting is concerned. So maybe she needs to figure out a way because this is not really going to work out. Let's just face it. By Bangladesh with T20 World Cup, it's not going to work out. You know how the pitches are over there, and even Fulfard is going to struggle to get those starts. So you don't want South Africa to be say 29 for no loss after the power play, because if you find yourself in that situation, there is a good chance you're going to lose more games than winning them. So maybe she needs to find some solution because now she's got the experience of playing so many T20Is. So it's up to her to figure out a solution and come up with better ways of accelerating.
Definitely, but to be honest, knowing Bangladesh, 29 for no loss at the end of the power play is probably a par score. We
Par
never
score.
know. Yeah. So, pata nahi wahan pe kya hoga. But if there's one thing we know of Tazmin Brits from her story, of course, it is that she will find a way. She's, of course, been a very, very, very successful winner. She was also a javelin gold medalist for South Africa, just like just like Kiran Navgire back home, of course. Gaurav has come up with a fantastic article
Yeah.
that's in the comments. Do check that out. You will get to know about her story and what it's taken for her to make it to the Proteas, test side, T20 side, and all of that. So let's hope again, once again, hope के साथ ही end करते हैं इस review को भी. She continues this run of form. She continues to prove Jeet wrong. I'll be more than happy to see that, of course. And before I forget, the next T20I happens on Sunday, the 7th of July. Thala, for a reason, once again, boss. Thala के birthday के दिन दो matches होने वाले. India men's team भी celebrate करेगा, women's team भी celebrate करेगा. The women's team, of course, second T20I happens, and that's, of course, coming live from Chennai. We will be back. And tomorrow, of course, is also first T20I of the Zimbabwe series. It's India taking on Zimbabwe. Shubman Gill leading the Indian side. Lot of new names: Abhishek Sharma, Riyan Parag, bunch. So it'll be great fun watching that as well. The three of us will be there tomorrow reviewing that game. So see you guys. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. I know it's a Friday night, so most of you must be outside. Have a great Friday night. Just make sure stay hydrated.
Cheers.